Hello, my darlings. I'm Seren Briar, and welcome to BiteNotes, the recap show for the Vampire the Masquerade Chronicle ATL by night. Tonight, we look back at Season 3, Chapter 8, and the 4th, 5th, and final vignettes. Now, let's sit back, relax, and recap a vampire story. Vignette 4. Homecoming. Dot has discovered that the Second Inquisition is creating their serums from synthetic blood manufactured in a lab at Emory University, and sends Cyrus to investigate. He makes his way to Emory and locates the currently unoccupied lab. Searching around, he takes a journal of detailed scientific notes and 30 samples of synthetic blood. As he is about to leave, the door opens. Dr. Amanda Gilbert, played by special guest Lauren Urban, walks in, fresh cup of coffee in hand. This is the closest Cyrus has ever been to the target he's been trying to kill for months. He draws a gun and runs up on her, grabbing her chin and putting the gun to her head. This close, they both have a strange, nebulous feeling of recognition and familiarity. Like every time he's had her in his sights before, Cyrus finds himself unable to pull the trigger. His vision goes white, and his mind is drawn into a vision.
Cyrus, in your mind, you see a tent overhead. You hear gunfire, screaming, you feel pain. You see a woman's arms covered in blood, and as the blood on her arms slide down along her hands, your vision follows the blood and it becomes a bouquet of roses. And when you look up from the roses, the woman is glowing in white, happy and crying. You see a golden snake crawl down your arm and along your hand, wrapping around your ring finger and holding onto it tightly. You hold a human heart in your hand now, but it feels different. And as you gaze at it, you lift it up into the air and your body begins to rise with it. And then you descend faster and faster and faster than you think is possible. And you crash into the sand, the heart dissolving into the sand with it. And then there's a pain in your neck, sharp and sickening. And the glowing woman appears before you again, but her visage dulls, and in blotchy patches her body begins to fade, and more patches fade, and more patches fade. And you're left holding sand, and the memory of the woman leaving you, and a fogginess in your mind that you didn't recall having before. But as your vision finally returns to you again, there's emptiness, nauseating emptiness, and the echo of the name, Amanda.
He releases Dr. Gilbert and puts his gun down. Dr. Gilbert is concerned and confused. Somehow, in the back of her own mind, she has the feeling she knows him too, but doesn't know how. Even though Cyrus has told her he's been trying to kill her, Dr. Gilbert is kind and understanding towards him. She's worried, not for her own life, but about what could have possibly happened to him to put him in so much pain and make him appear so dead. Memories begin to break through, slowly and painfully. Dr. Gilbert remembers being in the military in Vietnam when she saved the life of a young man who looked a lot like Cyrus. Something about Vietnam is familiar for him as well. He realizes the woman in his vision was a younger version of the woman before him. Dr. Amanda Gilbert takes Cyrus's face in her hands and a name comes to her. Ryan. Their memories, once locked but not gone, begin to return in a cascade of pain. She was a nurse in the Vietnam War, and she saved his life. They fell in love. They got married. And then Ryan was killed in action in a later war. When he became Cyrus, his whole life was replaced. Cyrus, crying, knows what he must do to keep her safe. As much as it hurts, he uses cloud memory to erase this entire meeting from her mind.
What happened to you? They told me you were dead. I always knew there was a chance you were gonna go and not come back. And then you were gone. I'm pretty sure I punched the general who told me. But here you are. This is... with no pulse, looking like you did. Like you're a ghost. And she pulls her hands back. I've just been up too late. Too much coffee. Too much work. Too much.
I'm a ghost. That was my call sign. I've always been a ghost. And you can't know this. Not yet. Not until I... And I'm gonna start to vanish in front of her. I'm gonna make a rouse check.
No, wait.
I succeed.
Okay.
I need you to forget. And I'm gonna use cloud memory. And I'm gonna wipe this entire meeting from her mind.
And as your memory begins to fade, your mind connects the pieces. A feeling he can't control. Your wedding vows with Ryan. And then it's gone. You blink for a moment and there's a young man in front of you. You must have just walked in. You just came back from getting your coffee. Maybe this is one of the assistants of a scientist. But there's a young man standing there waiting for you.
I'm sorry, it's been a long day. Have I just been standing here? Can I help you with something?
And there isn't a man there. Maybe you just dreamed it.
Dr. Amanda Gilbert blinks. It's been a long night, and she has a little bit of a headache. She goes back to work. Cyrus stumbles out of the building unseen and in agony, wrestling with the memories in his head. He's been tasked with killing her. He has to kill her, but he can't let her die. And then he remembers something else. The Banu Hakim abandoning him for being a failure. He flips through Dr. Gilbert's journal, struggling with his identity, searching for anything that might help him save her. He finds a name, Dr. Reynolds, next to the scratched out address of the old Second Inquisition facility, with a new address written next to it. Ryan is dead. There is only Cyrus ibn Muhavara bini Aftab, and he will not let her die. Chapter 8, and the winner is... It's Halloween, and the Shepherds have been invited to a charity event at the World of Coke, hosted by Marx Brothers Tech Company. Everyone has dressed up for the occasion. Thomasina and Melisande are both witches. Anton is Blathers from Animal Crossing. Hexadecimal is Boozette, and Aaron is Baby Driver. The party is fun and lively. Anton pressures Thomasina into trying Beverly, the most disgusting soda in existence, and Aaron hits the dance floor. Hex chats up an employee dressed as Anakin Skywalker, and Mark asks Melisande to keep her from eating him. Hex can't make any promises. She is pretty hungry. Anton tries to talk to the company's CEO with the intent of getting him to donate to the charity, Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. It doesn't go very well. The CEO turns out to be a changeling, and he's not pleased about Anton trying to mesmerize him out of his money. However, he lets him off with a warning. Everyone gets a text telling them to report to Grace Manor Theater immediately for voting. Aaron's phone has basically exploded, so the others retrieve him and they head out. There are definitely more kindred here tonight than at the candidate announcements. Most of them don't know the true nature of the election and still believe that they are casting their vote for Seneschal. Mooney and Tabitha take the stage, and Tabitha gives a short speech thanking everyone for participating. She reiterates the cover story, with the addition that once the Seneschal has been announced, the prince, who has been in hiding for their own safety, will be able to publicly take the throne. Votes will be cast with a raising of hands, and Mooney will count them. Aaron votes for Melisande, Anton votes for Alpha, and Mel, Thomasina, and Hexadecimal all vote for Dot. The votes, as they come in. A smattering of hands raise for Melisande of Clan Bruja. Alpha looks surprised at the number of hands that go up for him, especially Anton's. When Alejandro is up, the room goes deathly silent. He does not receive a single vote. For Clan Malkavian, Georgina gets a decent number of votes, while Dot looks incredibly pleased with the number for her. It seems that only other Toreador cast their vote for Alima, and only Tabitha raises a hand for Clarice. Finally, Elijah can count the number of votes for him on one hand. He clearly notes each one of them. When all the votes have been cast, Tabitha thanks the room and dismisses everyone, asking the candidates to stay. Hexadecimal wishes Dot luck, and everyone is ushered to the reception area outside the theater. The candidates and their primogen are taken back to their green rooms to debrief. Falcon agrees that Mel would make an excellent keeper of Elysium, and assures her that there's already a plan in place for dealing with Alejandro. It turns out that he already has a new home at the relocated Second Inquisition facility. Melisande tells Falcon about Dot's plan to rewrite the Renachery Camarilla, and Falcon is taken aback. She's not nearly as gung-ho about it as Mel is, and needs to think about this. Falcon is skeptical of Dot's integrity and her motives. Mooney gathers the candidates and the primogen into a side chamber. The votes have been tallied. After the prince is announced, they will choose their seneschal and the rest of their court. The seneschal will be the public winner of the election, and the prince will be assumed to have been chosen by Talbot before his demise. With all of that squared away, Mooney announces to the room, Alpha is Prince. He takes the news professionally, sitting up and nodding with acceptance. Dot, on the other hand, looks absolutely furious. Alima seems a little pissed off, but determined, and Georgina and Clarice immediately begin whispering to one another. Elijah's relieved, and Alejandro smiles and nods to Alpha. Alpha just looks at him in return. One by one, Prince Alpha invites each of the candidates into another room to appoint them to the court in private, beginning with Melisande. Dot had spread the idea of Mel as keeper around to the other candidates, and Alpha agreed with her. Melisande will be the new Keeper of Elysium. As a member of the Shepherds, he also lets her know that Cyrus will remain Scourge. Alima is the new Seneschal. With her bold visions for the future of the city, Alpha thought she'd be a good person to bounce ideas off of and deal with the bigger picture while he does work on the ground. Georgina will be joining Cyrus as a Scourge. He's going to hate her. She's very excited to work with him. Clarice doesn't get any position at all and is very pleased about it. In addition to remaining Nosferatu Primogen, Dot will also be one of the Harpies, and Elijah is the new sheriff. After receiving that news, he looks like he has a stomachache. After meeting with everyone else, Alpha, in front of everyone, tells Alejandro to get the fuck out of his council.
And he comes out, and Alejandro looks up, and he just looks at Alejandro, and just grins. And goes, Alejandro, you can get the fuck out of my council. I'm not kicking you out of the city, man, but you ain't been here long enough to earn the earthworm in my boot crack. So, if you don't mind, show me who you are. Then I'll see if you even have a place here. I want to know what kind of man you're going to be for this city. And Alejandro just gives a deep nod. He says, "Of course, my prince."
Everyone is dismissed so Prince Alpha can begin his work. Melisande gives Elijah a pep talk on their way out. Seeing how he rescued Anton and Thomasina from the Second Inquisition, he'll make a great sheriff. A glad hand leads Mel out front to a gorgeous, fancy stretch limo. The window rolls down to reveal the rest of her coterie waiting for her. On the way home, Mel fills everyone in on the results. She thinks Alpha will make a fine prince. Eren is surprised, and Thomasina isn't happy. She thinks Alpha is too impulsive, and that his lack of communication might get the city into trouble. Her phone buzzes with a text from Prince Alpha himself, offering her the position of Harpy. Melisande and Anton think that's a great idea. For Alpha to choose two women who hate his guts as his Harpies, he's showing a lot of trust, both in them and in his own decisions. Dot texts Hex to ask her to be the whip of the Nosferatu. She knew that she wouldn't win the election and tells Hex that her loss makes the next part of her plans much easier. Hex keeps these messages secret from the rest of her coterie. When they get home, their horses are waiting for them in the living room. Thomasina goes to shoo them out and notices that War has a little more color in his eyes. All the horses blink away in a puff of red smoke. Eren lets everyone know that he's considering taking a small vacation after figuring out some things with Alejandro. He's heavily considering going forward with the plan to feed from him in order to level out his new powers. Just as everyone settles in to watch Star Trek Voyager, Mel's phone rings. Alpha's already going to need his new keeper's help. They have a Sabbat problem. Vignette 5. Born in Blood. Cyrus delivers one of the vials of synthetic blood to Dot, and she gives him his next assignment, retrieving a lost childer. A Sabbat-affiliated gangrel named Jenna has been located hiding out at Zoo Atlanta. Dot encourages him to bring Denise, played by special guest Melee Damage, along on this one, and he goes to Lake Lanier to pick her up. Denise understands that if things get out of hand, Cyrus will do what he has to do, but she asks that he give her a chance to get through to Jenna first. At the zoo, Cyrus finds a vantage point with his sniper rifle on top of the elephant building, and Denise checks the exhibits. She spots a gorilla with an unusually pale face in the rainforest area, and convinces the other gorillas to let them talk through the glass. Jenna has clearly been indoctrinated with Sabbat rhetoric, but isn't hostile. She's been hiding in the zoo since the Second Inquisition came for her pack. Denise is understanding and convinces Jenna that she and the rest of the gangrel can give her a fresh start and keep her safe.
The reason that they were coming after you, and a stipulation of coming with me, is you can't talk about any of that Sabbat nonsense.
But it wasn't nonsense. It was the first thing in my life that made sense. At least I had a purpose. I had people who relied on me and understood me, and they thought I was special.
Well, when you come with me, the rest of the gangrel will think you are special, too. You'll be like a shiny new toy to them, especially, I'm sure. Just happy to see you around and talk to you like a new sibling every time. But you'd be safer there. You'd be much safer there.
I'm safe here, aren't
Well,
I?
not for long. Especially if it was the mommy men coming after you. They've been wise to us for a while now, and I'm pretty sure they figured out that our kind like to hide among the animals when they don't know what they're doing.
Cyrus's presence makes Jenna nervous, but he has that effect on people. They take Jenna back to the gangrel compound, and she visibly relaxes when the other gangrel welcome her in with kindness and a home. Cyrus returns to his usual rooftop to watch Dr. Amanda Gilbert. Through the scope of his rifle, his finger nowhere near the trigger, he watches her have the family game night noted in her journal, thinking about how to keep her safe. Vignette 6. The Devil and His Due. Khalif Aman Kadar, played by special guest Alex Ward, has recently arrived in Atlanta. He knows his target's patterns and knows he will be sitting on the rooftop of a home in Marietta. Cyrus watches Dr. Amanda Gilbert go to her study and begin searching furiously through her bag for her journal. He feels a sudden, sharp, gripping pain in his shoulder, and then he's flung through the greenway behind the neighborhood, landing hard on wet boulders at the base of a short waterfall, a tall, imposing figure standing over him. Aman removes his hood. Something about him is familiar to Cyrus, but he can't quite place him. Aman asks Cyrus why he has not yet completed the assignment of eliminating Dr. Gilbert. Cyrus claims that he's gained new information. He doesn't think that Dr. Gilbert should be the true target, but needs to gather more intel before presenting Alamut with the matter. He tells Aman about the name Dr. Reynolds from Dr. Gilbert's journal, but hasn't yet had time to look into it. Aman prompts Cyrus about why he thinks he knows better than the Alamut, how long he's been kindred, and who his sire is. Cyrus doesn't have an answer. Aman points out that if Dr. Gilbert dies, then even if she doesn't know she's working with the Second Inquisition, the Inquisition still won't have access to their synthetic blood. From Cyrus's reaction, Aman can tell that he's starting to remember. Aman is Cyrus's sire. He wiped Cyrus's memories of both his life and his embrace, feeling that Cyrus would be most effective without that contact. And Cyrus has been a fine Banu Hakim, even if he's not a true one. That is, until he remembered his wife. Unable to let Aman kill Dr. Gilbert, Cyrus hands over her journal, arguing that she could be an asset to them since she's managed to create blood that they can drink. But Amon has her notes, so now they can recreate the process, and Dr. Gilbert's death would still cut off the synthetic blood supply. Amon gives Cyrus a choice. Complete his assignment, or don't, and actually become clanless. Alternately, he could stake himself and wait for the sun, and Amon will finish the contract for him. Or he could fight Amon. Even if Cyrus wins, though, someone else will just come for him over and over again. Trying to fight the Caliph would be foolish. But Cyrus can't let her die. He draws his gun and begins shooting. Amon, as fast as he is, can't dodge fast enough. In response, Amon uses blood sorcery to literally boil Cyrus's blood.
And what was your roll, Cyrus?
0.
Unfortunate. And you said 7, Amon?
Yeah.
Cyrus, as you go running towards him, you switch out the rounds. And then there is an intense, hot pain searing within you as your blood begins to boil, hurting all throughout every square inch of your body. Please take 7 points of aggravated damage.
And as Cyrus charges and gets right up on him as he grabs him, he...
And Cyrus, your hunger is now at 5. And the beast is clawing up your throat as your blood boils, aching to get out. This sire, this Caliph. Maybe more would come after him, but you'd have peace for a while. And his blood is probably delicious.
You think you can kill me that easily? You think you, using the bullets made by Kine, are able to take me down? I do not think so. Enjoy this pain. You will remember it for a long time.
Overcome with intense hunger and pain, Cyrus attacks like a rabid animal, but Amon gets away. He leaves Cyrus to his frenzy. Not wanting to leave Atlanta just yet, Amon goes to stay with the woman who'd requested an agent from him in the first place, Dot Matrix. Cyrus can't think. He just needs to eat. He starts moving and happens upon a couple on a midnight stroll. The man fidgeting with a ring box behind his back. Cyrus can't help himself. He attacks, tearing the couple to shreds and devouring both their hearts. As long as Amon is here, Cyrus knows that Dr. Gilbert is on borrowed time. He has to find his sire. Thank you for tuning in to BiteNotes. Remember, liking, commenting, and subscribing does not violate the Masquerade. You can view full episodes of ATL by Night on our YouTube channel. We stream Tuesdays at twitch.tv/ATL by Night. Remember to support us on Patreon and follow us on Twitter. Until next time, good night.